Hi, folks, and we are the Coalition, loud and proud, outrage porn-free, civilly disobedient media. Today, we are back at Brood Awakenings on Bald Hill Road in Warwick. We're until about 5 o'clock or so. My new friend Crystal Santos Welch will be sitting here and actually disseminating signs that, in many cases, I guess in over 150 cases, people have prepaid for in order to make a statement in the most personal place imaginable, which is their home. This is an extension of the continuing masking controversy where young children, and children of all ages, if you will, and though this is not the circus, it might as well be, because are still, even with COVID in retreat, are still being forced to wear masks in school. And, you know, we've touched on a little bit before the now present heat wave, and we're going to focus on this today and going forward on two levels, which of course is the appropriateness of having them wear masks in school, and as well as, in even worse yet, in 90-plus degree heats, which can easily translate into near 100-degree heat in an unair-conditioned classroom, the notion of taking a small child and putting a face covering so that they literally will have trouble breathing in these stultifying temperatures. So, Crystal, just tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get involved with this?
So I have two children. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old is going to kindergarten next year. And I have a group of friends who have children who are, in school currently. And we were just discussing, what we could do, to help hopefully get our children unmasked as soon as possible, but definitely before the start of school next year.
Right.
So we came up with an idea, my friend Sherry and I came up with an idea of doing these signs, like any political sign that you might see that you can just put in front of your house, to just let people know, like, let's get our children unmasked, maybe encourage people to say something to their school board or, our legislators or whatnot. So.
Now, have you approached your school district with this?
Sherry has.
Right.
So my friend Sherry, unfortunately, her child just hurt themselves in soccer, so she's got the emergency room. But she has. Her children are currently in school, so she's definitely spoken with her school.
What has been the impact on the children that you know, in terms of their ability to learn, their ability to process, because of this continued mask wearing?
There's been issues on, psychological issues, I feel. And I know that Sherry's son has a lot of issues wearing the mask. When he, even just kind of walking, and he has some trouble with it. So I can just imagine being in a, classroom all day, that this is affecting kids' ability to learn. Essentially, you're cutting off some of their senses. So, affecting everything.
So with COVID, people are inoculated. There has not been any real significant incidents at any level of COVID manifesting itself among small children. Why do you feel, and what has the school department said to you, that we still have to keep doing this?
I mean, the only thing that I can see is that the children are not eligible yet because they haven't, done the emergency use authorization for children,
Right.
in the younger brackets. So that's the only thing that I can think of, is that they're probably going to try and get that, and then once they get the authorization, they'll maybe lift the mask mandates for those who are vaccinated. I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but that kind of looks like we're cleaning.
Right, and so despite the fact that 18,000 Bruin fans mingled at the Boston Garden in high spirits, if you will, and I'm just thinking, hypothetically, there may have been some chest bumping and some high fives and some hugs, and alcohol might have, I'm just thinking, might have been a factor, all right, which of course would lead to a temporary breakdown in the social norms that prevent people from coming in close contact. Hypothetically speaking, despite that happening on literally national television, all right, somehow we feel like we need to keep these little kiddos.
It doesn't make any sense. I feel for the kids having to wear these masks, especially in sports. Throughout all of this, it's just been a struggle.
Right.
And now the burden is still on our kids, even though everybody else has kind of been given the green light. It just seems very unfair when it doesn't affect kids
Right.
nearly as bad as it would in adults.
So you literally have the least affected amongst us in terms of the disease being the sole remaining category of people.
Exactly. And I think this in the CDC, it calculates to 0% death rate for kids in that age bracket, according to the CDC. So why are they in masks? Why? It doesn't make sense.
And of course, folks that I know that have reached out to their school departments have been told the standard government line: we are following orders.
Yeah.
So that's their. Is that the type of response that the moms in your group have?
No, that's unacceptable to us. What we're hoping to do with the signs is to encourage people to speak out and to join us and to contact their school departments so that we can all work together. In numbers, we can change this, but we have to get together and we have to do this together.
Right.
Because unfortunately, masking has been a political issue this whole time. It's been politicized. So we want people to see that it's not all about politics. If you want your child unmasked, you should want your child unmasked, no matter what side of the politics you're on. You should just advocate for your children because they should not have to wear a mask when none of us are wearing them.
Now, there's a number of incidents that have gone on in the state, literally within the past few days, which has painted a picture of a state and a state government and a state Department of Education and local Department of Education's literally pitched against directly the very parents who pay the taxes and the very parents for whom raising their children is their primary responsibility. You're the mom of very young children. In your personal opinion, who is responsible for making decisions on behalf of your children?
Well, parents should be.
Right.
So I'm not masking my children. My children are 3 and 5, but I also don't have my children in school. So, and I am in a position for next year if they're continuing to mask the kids that I will not send my daughter to school. I won't homeschool them. So,
Right.
but not everybody is that lucky. So.
No, understood.
Yeah.
No, and isn't the central issue, if you boil well, I should ask you this: is the central issue once you move past all the medical analysis and the hype, really who makes decisions on behalf of their children? Do you feel like that's what it really boils down to at a certain point? Is this a tug of war over that?
It seems to be. It does seem to be. I think the parents should have the right to make the choice if they want to send their child to school with a mask or not. It should be between the parent and the child, depending on the child's age, on
Right.
whether or not they want to go to school. Because if you want your child to still wear a mask, they can. It should be choice.
Is it ironic that we live in a world where on certain levels the very people who politically advocate for choice will at other times advocate for the lack of parental choice?
Yeah, it's very interesting. It doesn't really make sense.
Interesting. Now, so the signs are available.
The signs are available.
How can I know that this is a grassroots movement. In fact,
Yes.
you folks have gone to lengths to make sure that people understand that your focus is on this issue. There's no grand conspiracy of national organizations secretly bankrolling signs to be put in people's houses. None of that, right?
We're just a group of moms that, wanted to see what we could do, at ground level, and try and get people in our local community involved and to support getting masks off of our kids.
So not only have you enlisted, or I should say, created an environment where over 150 people are going to put these signs up, they've also are willing to pay for them, and that's an accomplishment on a couple levels, because very often this can get very expensive to be a volunteer. It can.
Yes, yes.
You spend a lot of time, a lot of money. Who knows if the $10 is even covering? These signs are expensive.
Yeah.
Particularly when you do them in less than 10,000 unit runs.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So people, it's interesting. People, there are a lot of people who will applaud from the sideline when a group of activists takes it upon themselves to work on their behalf.
Yeah.
What's fascinating to me, and I'll phrase this as a question, Jeopardy question, right? Are you surprised by the emotional investment and the willingness that people are going to go to participate in this movement? Has that caught you by surprise, or did you expect it?
I kind of expected it, from people that feel the same way, because when it's your children, you're emotional about it. It makes me emotional to see a young child in a mask, and knowing that this has been going on for over a year now.
Right.
These kids, and their whole life has been disrupted. And so yes, when we put it out there, people were very enthusiastic about it. They were willing to pay, and they wanted to meet up, and people are excited to be involved, which we're really grateful for.
Do you think, from your perspective, that parents all of a sudden who, right now, I guess so many parents are working 2 or 3 jobs, just to kind of keep things going.
Yeah.
What impact do you think having to stay home and actually be part of the remote classroom experience had on the parents that you know, and did that serve as a wake-up call for this renewed level of activism?
Yeah, I mean, my sister has a 13-year-old, and I know it was really difficult on her. And I think parents, because they are so busy, they're not able to see exactly what's going on or be involved. And if they're getting on their Zoom, or if they're participating in class like they might normally do, it's been stressful. I know, through all the lockdowns and everything, I have a girlfriend who is a single mom, and she has a stressful marketing job, and she was working from home with her 2 young kids, 3 and 5-year-old, like screaming in the background of her phone calls. It's been difficult for everybody. Everybody's had their
Right.
struggles with all of it, and it's been tough.
Well, if there is any upside to it, there is I could tell you, having been at the South Kingstown meeting the other night and having spoken informally to probably over 100 parents in the last 2 weeks, and then starting to get the groundswell of emotion about what's going to happen this week, because it is the worst of all worlds. You've got children in high temperatures at the end of a school year who are exhausted, with parents who are exhausted by gone from home to remote to hybrid to back and forth and back. It's been a tough year for everybody. People have lost family members. Businesses have been shut down. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of shared pain out in the community. But take the situation, if you will, of wearing masks and how inhumane that is, and then ratchet it up with with this heat wave we're about to go through.
Yeah.
How do you think this movie ends?
Well, I'm hoping the movie ends by people standing up and advocating for their children and getting these masks off of our kids. I'm hoping more people will call their schools, will get involved, and just say no.
Right.
We're not sending them back to school with masks on.
So, because ultimately, parents pay the bills. It's their children.
Yeah.
Final thought. You really don't have to do a damn thing any of these people tell you to do, do you?
Really don't. Really don't. It's interesting. I think I mentioned it too, that I was in Oklahoma a couple months ago, and nobody had masks on there. Nobody, the social distancing is back to normal, and their infection rate is lower than Rhode Island, even
Right.
though all the masks were off. And there's several examples like that. Florida and Texas and
Right.
Missouri, and they're not wearing masks, and their kids aren't wearing masks.
Would it surprise you if I told you at a public meeting, I had the opportunity at a press conference to question Dr. Nicole Scott, and I pointed out that there was a day last year when we had simultaneously the highest infection rate on the planet.
I remember that. Yeah.
All right, while at the same time having arguably one of the highest mask compliance rates in the nation. And she simply sparked at me that masks work and changed the subject.
I guess if you just say it enough, people believe you. That seems to be what has happened here. I think we've been proven that they don't really seem to work, or there doesn't seem to be
Right.
a correlation between the masking and the infection rate and whatnot. So, maybe some people to believe that they don't really help that much.
Right. Final question today. Should a bureaucrat, an elected official, a town committee person ever mistake a mother's kindness for weakness?
Absolutely. we're gonna protect our babies. And,
Wow. I'm seeing it today in your eyes. I saw it in the flesh in South Kingstown. There is, to my mind, and I've been around the block, the beginnings of a not so quiet educational revolution in the state, and it's being led by mothers, not politicians, not bureaucrats, not business people. It's on the ground, and it's being led by mothers.
I think a lot of parents and mothers have woken up and are now paying attention to what's going on, what's being taught in schools.
Well, listen, thank you for spending time with me today. Thank you for being active, an activist, and getting involved. It's from hearing you on the air, you and your partner on this, from talking and just kind of being the fly on the wall for the last hour or so. Two reflections. Number one, it can be very intimidating to throw yourself into the public arena. But again, just to amplify what I just said now, it doesn't strike me that you're going to be intimidated by any of these people. But again, congratulations, folks. We're gonna.
I do want to just thank Dave really quick.
Oh, sure, please.
He opened his location for us to distribute the signs, and I just want to thank Dave. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, no, Dave Levesque. Folks who listen to my stuff understand that I've gotten to know Dave personally over the last few months as we've worked together to try and facilitate the reopening of Rhode Island in terms of the employment picture, to make it a really equitable, fair way to get folks back to work and get them off unemployment and get Rhode Island businesses open. Dave leads with his heart. He has given of himself, his employees, his facilities, to really help personal freedoms in the state in a way that's difficult to really calculate the cost of. So you're right, Dave. He's got a wonderful facility here. You're going to be here till 5, and we're certainly going to do whatever we can in our own little way, the coalition, to amplify what your work and how other ways you're going to reach out to people. But stop by till 5. If you've got a sign ready to pick up, they're here. There's extra signs available for sale. They're just $10 each. $10 to make a statement. Listen, folks, you're not going to get a chance to vote on this. That's pretty clear. So one way to look at these signs is, this is an investment. This is your way of voting on masking small children. It's pretty simple. If you disagree with it, get a sign, post it for the world to see, whether you're on the quietest cul-de-sac somewhere buried in South County, or whether you live on Armistead Boulevard in Pawtucket. Regardless of how many people see it, regardless if you're the only person to see it, this is a way to represent yourself and a way to publicly vote on how you feel about this ongoing situation. Folks, thanks for watching. We'll get this into the lab. It's outdoors. It's been a real education the last few weeks about, having interviews outdoors at protests, things like that. But thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And again, you can see this on Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio. And we will continue to cover this aggressively over the coming days, weeks, years, months. However, have a great summer afternoon. Thank you.
Hey, can you come over here?
And we're back. We are the Coalition, loud and proud. Here again at Brood Awakenings. I've been here enough now that my phone auto-senses the Wi-Fi here. All you need to know. First world problems, right? Sherry Wallach is here. She is as well with Unmask Our Children. Just catching up. She's covering these signings right now. They'll be here for a little bit more. If you haven't had a chance to, got held up for picking up your signs, she'll give you an idea how to contact her. But again, over 150 people purchased signs. That's astonishing. Congratulations on your efforts.
Thank you.
Is this sort of a moment in time? Do you feel like this issue has galvanized parents? And how did this all happen?
Yeah, I feel like we're just kind of fed up now. If everything's getting back to normal, everything is running and up and unmasking. I just went to Kent County Hospital without a mask on, and my children have to wear a mask at school, and people's kids have to still suffer and, you know, not be able to breathe. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution for everybody. Some people can wear masks, some people can't. It's time. Make it a choice. That's, I think, the biggest message here. You want to wear a mask? You can wear a mask. You want to mask your children? You can. Mine don't. They cannot tolerate it. It's time to stand tall and stand together and put a stop to forced medical mandates, really.
Who has the right to make decisions for you and your children?
Nobody has the rights to make a decision for me, but me. Not the government, not even my doctor, no, nobody. That's a conversation between me, my husband, my family. I don't want anybody else making those decisions for me. Am I a risk to the public, to anybody else? Absolutely not. If everybody takes their precautions and I take my precautions, then it's everybody's right to choose what's good for them and their family. I stand by that.
What impact do you believe, and I'll call it an unintended consequences, did the notion during COVID of parents staying home with their children and perhaps for the first time seeing how their children are educated?
Oh, interesting question. You really get to see the teachers. You really get to see what the approach is. Who's the really good teachers? Who probably shouldn't be working with children? A lot fell on us parents to have to then teach our children, which I do anyways. But a lot of the responsibilities that our taxes go to, all fell on the family.
Right. Do you think school systems in particular are equipped to deal with activist parents and involved parents?
They don't like activist parents so much. I got a lot of respect from the administration that I reached out to because I come from a place of kindness and I'm diplomatic, right? I approached them, told them my problems, and said, you know, I'm going to come to you first for these problems. If they don't get fixed or I don't like them, we are forming a coalition and we're going to stand up for it. But I have the respect to pull them aside and tell them that first, and then we're going to take our approach.
Why isn't the state, though, responding to parents' concerns? And do you feel like they're even engaging with the parents?
Everybody's passing the buck. Everybody, it's somebody else's fault. You reach out to the governor, you know, it's Rhode Island Department of Health. If you reach out to Rhode Island Department of Health, it's on the superintendents. You reach out to the superintendents, they're taking it from the state. So from what I've done in our coalition, emailing, phone calls, everything like that, it's everybody else's fault. So they're passing the buck.
And yet at the same time, as I mentioned with your partner in crime in our earlier conversation, we were treated to, on live TV, 18,000 Bruins fans getting together, high-fiving, you know, chest bumping, beer swilling, all the good things in life, right?
Yeah.
So why can't government assimilate those two perspectives and find a happy medium?
Nobody wants to take the liability on, especially when it comes to children. And, you know, is it coming higher up? Is it the teachers' unions? You know, I've mentioned that, and that's been kind of ignored. No, it's not the unions. Not really convinced.
You're seeing parents getting engaged now.
Yeah.
Who, I want to be very careful about this. They've always been involved in their children's education. They're clearly loving parents. They're on top of things. But all of a sudden, this issue and the entire way families, parents, children are treated by school departments over the last year or so, and state government, clearly seems to have been that proverbial straw.
Yes,
Mix that in with, as I mentioned, that newfound, if you will, awareness of how their children are being educated. Are you seeing a lot of parents really break through that glass ceiling for the first time?
Yeah, I don't think parents want to ruffle the feathers. They don't want to make waves in school because then the children might take the fall for it, you know. But now it's kind of being like enough's enough, you know.
Right.
I was a little surprised with some of the people who did want these signs. I was really happy to see some of my community really step up and put those in their yard, because it's become almost politicized, and it's not. It's actually, I would see it as an everybody issue. It's not political at all. It's our kids. We need to advocate for them.
Right. Members of the media have questioned the usefulness of signs. That caught me by surprise, because as someone who's been involved in political campaigns, if there's one thing consistent around Rhode Island, it's lawn signs. I'm not aware of a better way to reach people.
Thank you.
What was the process behind? Did someone just have that eureka moment?
I've been wanting to do yard signs because we talked about, do you do a Twitter storm? Emails to the governor, the Rhode Island Department of Health, superintendents, principals. Those are great, right? We've been doing that. Nobody sees that. That doesn't get visibility. What we needed was a visual where parents could say, oh, they feel like that too? Okay, I support that. I'm going to put that in my yard. And then the community starts seeing, an outcry and all these signs like, okay, yeah, it is time. Everybody should be unmasked. The teachers are now protected. They're vaccinated. Whoever wants to be. Why are these kids still doing all these restrictions? So again, it's a visual to see who supports freeing our children, really.
Right, and it normalizes what could be feared as an isolated thought process.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, most of the people I talk to, they don't want to see their children masked any more than I do.
What problems do you have with masking?
I have a son with sensory issues, right? He cannot tolerate it. He can't even walk if he wears it. I mean, that's number one. He's never been masked this whole time. He can't even go to school because he won't tolerate the mask. He couldn't go to services. He's supposed to go to speech, OT, PT in school. He couldn't, again, because of the mask. My daughter, headaches after school, sitting on the bus with this thing on her face. What do I have to say? You have headaches after school? That's a physical problem. Not to mention rashes. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't promote health for me and my family. It just doesn't. I don't have to buy into what health is for everybody else. I know what is physically for me and my kids.
Right. And again, getting back to the central theme here, this is in a sense a dual issue. It's number one, the science or lack thereof of masking for small children in particular who
there's no studies, there's no longitudinal studies. I don't care if China masks their kids, the Eastern traditions, they still have pandemics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is no basis, foundation of psychological ramifications in the long term. What about speech, development, social, emotional issues? You're basically blanking out part of somebody's face, which is a big part of language communication. I know I use that a lot for my work, working in the hospitality industry, health and wellness. That is, you block it, breathing, sight, all of that. It's, no, it's just got to end at some point.
And then, of course, getting back to the other issue, it's about parental control.
Yes. Do I have any say over my children, It's getting to be less and less. If I want to send them to school anyways, right?
Right. And that had become, until really incidences over the last month or so, that lack of parental control was becoming normalized as well.
Yes.
And this seems to have been, a whole lot of people just stood up and said, enough.
Yes. A lot of people, I think fear makes people really give in their rights and liberties.
Right.
They were bombarded, programmed, a lot of fear, a lot of programming around mask up, it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. What is that? Have we ever seen that before? That much programming, widespread into children, into schools, on YouTube, on Facebook, on the outlets of news network channels. It's weird.
Right. Well, congratulations, first of all, and I congratulate activists of all stripes, because moment when it's not good enough just to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
I mean, because it's an incredible invasion of your privacy to a certain degree. You have people calling you out for all sorts of vile things, and they've never even had a conversation with you.
Right.
They've never met you.
Right. Right.
And yet, ironically, there are so many groups in the state that are demanding higher quality education, but allowing the same people who got us to this point to run it. How can folks reach out to you, get signs? I understand signs are $10 a piece.
Right.
And let me reflect on that for a second.
Yeah.
The fact that over 150 people were willing to initiate the contact. I mean, I call America today short attention span theater. Right? It's hard. People are being torn. That's not a shot. People are being torn in 100 different directions. The fact that people were willing actually reach out to you, if you will, finish the engagement until they get their sign.
Yeah.
Most importantly, pay the cost of the sign.
Right.
And not that $10 for a lot of families in Rhode Island is a lot of money, but just feeling strongly enough about an issue that they overcome all those things in the midst of a day which is normally chaotic. Never mind having to make an unanticipated side trip to Kent County Hospital. Just because of life happens, right? So,
I think people need something right now. They feel helpless. They feel like they're being steamrolled. People need to feel like they're working towards something. And if a sign, that $10 and that pickup says, I'm doing something, then that's awesome. You know what I mean?
The way I described it earlier, and you let me know if you think this is a good way to phrase it. This $10 investment, because in this case it is an investment, in a sign, is also the only time you're going to, kids being kids. Great stuff, man. But it's their one opportunity to vote on this, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, it is their one opportunity to vote on this. If they're not, vocal on their social media pages, or as I am, or as somebody else.
And listen, you and I are both, right?
Yeah.
We're wired that way.
Yeah.
Most people aren't.
Right.
Most people have enough on their plate.
Right.
And again, no judgment here. A lot of people, they either work for the state or the city, or they work for an organization where if they're politically vocal, I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people are quiet. But this really is your one chance to vote.
Yeah, this is your one chance to say it, and especially before the fall, before we really lose, this battle where they're saying, well, those can take off the mask that, want to inject themselves, or those that don't inject themselves have to wear a mask. I mean, I'm not trying to turn it into that, but is it going to be discrimination in the schools?
Right.
I have a big problem with that, I have a big problem with discrimination in general, Are we going, reversing 60 years of history here, where we're going to have different water fountains in different, public places that are be open? No, not on my watch. I have to speak up. Right?
No, listen, I understand. A lot of people feel helpless right now.
Exactly. If anybody wants to get a sign, reach out to me, Sherry D. Wallach on Facebook. A lot of people have Venmo'd. I have messaged every single person that Venmo'd me. They can pick up today. If not today, I'm happy for people to come to my home in Portsmouth, come pick up a sign. I'm on Instagram, Telegram. So I'm out there. You can find me. I'll message. Well, Crystal will message under here because I'm in Facebook jail for I think 10 more days.
Occupational hazard.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. But I was also remarking that in the absence of social media, we would be, for all the people, and last question here, because you're obviously an activist, you use social media aggressively. So many elected officials, so many self-appointed officials rail on about the dumpster fire that is Twitter, social media is a cesspool. Do you think you'd have the ability to express yourself in today's society at any level politically in the absence of social media?
It's a great question. It's yard signs, right? Or writing things on your lawn. But where I am in Portsmouth, you get in trouble for that by the town. So You know, you gotta, I don't know, you know, free speech doesn't come easily these days. Social media has made that easier, but it's, you know, still censored.
Well, again, thanks for letting me invade your space here today.
Thank you.
Now, and again, just let us know how you're doing.
All right, awesome. We will, definitely. Thank you.
We're signing off for today. We're the Coalition. As always, we're loud and proud. We're outrage porn free. We'll always be civilly disobedient media. Today we're at Dave's at Levesque's Brood Awakening here on Ball Hill Road. I think they're going to wrap it up in just a little bit. But if you paid for a sign, reach out to them. They're working overtime to get them out to people. If you're interested in a sign, reach out to folks. They're working overtime to get them out to folks. Again, you've got a chance to vote. Imagine that. As people drive around Rhode Island, as I mentioned earlier, it could be the tiniest little cul-de-sac, or it could be Armistice Boulevard in Pawtucket. It could be Bald Hill Road, or it could be somewhere out in Foster. People will see it. It will matter. You'll have weighed in, and your opinion will count. Enjoy the rest of this glorious weekend, and keep in mind, if you will, the small children over the next few days who are going to be in school, masked, in buildings that will be hostile.
Yeah.
Temperatures in excess of 90 degrees outside translate into particularly on a second or third floor, temperatures of higher degrees. Insist, if you will, if you choose not to keep your child home, insist on water breaks. Make sure the teacher is aware, and make sure the school is aware that you're watching. Because what we don't want are these great little kids, and all little kids are great, right? These great little kids falling ill, having heat stroke, or any of that, because of the short-sightedness of some bureaucrat somewhere who feels it's more important to stick to the party line than, I don't know. By the way, this is the opinion of station management. That's me. Display perhaps one iota of common sense. Thanks again, folks. We'll talk soon.